Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and today I am with Master Clark. He owns and operates 16 schools from Orlando all the way down to Miami, where they call Karate America, where he runs his Warrior. Did I say that right? Karate America?
Yes.
Where he runs his warrior style of martial arts programming. So you're going to learn a lot from him today when you listen. I've been around the industry for a really long time. Highly recommended that I reach out and talk to him to hear his perspective of running martial arts schools and how to find instructors and how to operate profitably. And we'll even go through some of the training that he does for his instructors. So, Mr. Clark, thanks for coming on here today.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here. Can I correct something? My schools are from Jacksonville to Miami. Orlando is Grandmaster Von Schmelling.
Oh, I said Orlando. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
Jacksonville.
no problem.
Yeah, thanks for correcting me. So
Yes.
how long have you had these schools for?
I opened the first school in Jacksonville in 1971 before you were born.
Cool. And then when did you open up the most recent one?
Last February. I mean, we actually just opened up a new one.
Okay. So what makes you keep deciding to opening up more locations? Why not just stop at 15 or?
Uh, when I have an instructor that demands a position, I'll open up one with them or I'll help them go somewhere else and open up their own. But an awful lot of time people like to stay in the system, and I help everybody open up. I'll open up one for them and they can buy in as a partner whenever they're ready or not, either way.
Hmm. How do you usually structure that? Is it a franchise model or a license model?
It's a sole ownership model. I always own 51% at least. Most of them I own 100% because the guys make enough money on our pay system that we have people making from guys that don't work it from 60,000 to 300,000.
Okay, cool.
That's what they make.
So is it based on how well the school does? Like there's revenue
Obviously,
share?
yeah, obviously.
Okay. How do you structure that?
Which part of it? Because I mean, I spend the same amount of money on all schools. I train everybody the same. They all have the same information. It's amazing the different results that people get by
Yeah.
knowing the information but not using it. Knowing is one thing. Using the information is quite a different one.
Yeah. So how do you structure your revenue share program with your teachers? I think a lot of people who are martial arts school owners, a lot of times the owner is the operator, right? And they think about opening more locations. They're not sure exactly how to do it and how to incentivize people to want to grow the school like the owner would, right? So how did you incentivize your people? Like what's your structure for them to be able to make more money?
Well, until you treat the school like you're an employee of the school and you work like an employee and then profit is left over, most people just take whatever's left and spend it. I didn't do that. I mean, we take 30% goes into a payroll pool. So if you're the chief instructor in your own school, the total payroll can never exceed 30%. And the total rent should never exceed 15%. Marketing should never be over 8%. So when you get all that down, you subtract all the part-time people out. I'm talking fast here, but once you subtract all the other payroll, whether you're the owner or not, all you get is 60% of the payroll pool after everybody else has been paid.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
makes sense. I don't know if you can visualize that or not. There's a payroll pool of 30% of the gross.
Yep. Got that. So if it's $100,000 gross revenue, let's say
30,000 in payroll pool.
30,000 in payroll,
And
and
you minus out all the part-time people, all the people that are helping you out, and then the second person gets 40% of whatever's left, and the chief instructor might be you, the owner, gets 60. Now, after that, whatever's left is what you consider your profit, and you should treat that different than income because it's different for income tax too. So I would treat that as profit, not salary, and allows you to start working with when you can live. And then when you get ready to open another school, you've got to pay people you're part of that 30% when you get to the next school, and you have to. When I had my first school, I wanted to make $6,000 at least a month personally.
okay.
So when I opened my second one, I only paid me $3,000 salary from each one. When I opened my third one, I only paid me $2,000 from each school, and then whatever profit was left over. Everything else went into the salary pool and goes into the salary pool.
Mm. So the more money the school makes, the better the instructors do, and they understand exactly how it's going to break down.
And so if you can't live with that, And then most people, when they open their second school, they don't want to pay the chief instructor, or they don't want to pay the program director. Who's ever has P&L responsibility should make the 60% of the payroll pool after everybody else is paid. Does that make sense at all? I don't know if it does or not.
Yeah, so you teach them how to run the P&L statements, like you teach them how to do all the books, everything they need for
I do all that for them. All they have to do is market and sell martial arts classes. And I have a marketing budget that I spend money every month.
Okay, cool. And so you're doing the P&L or the QuickBooks, let's say, for all 16 locations?
All 16 locations, right? And
Wow,
so does
okay.
Mr. Von Schmeling you talked to last week for all the locations.
Okay, very
That way they
cool.
don't have to do that. They don't have to write checks. They don't have to pay bills. They don't have to do any of that. They're responsible for P&L, profit and loss. And they're
So,
responsible for both sides of that.
so do you actually do that personally, or do you hire an accountant or a
Oh, I'm
bookkeeper?
77 years old, my friend. I'm just working out and playing fun. No, I have a crew that does it. I have
Okay,
a
cool.
team
So you have like a bookkeeper or something.
I have 7 people working at my headquarters.
Okay, awesome. So they do up most of the logistics. You just look at the overall where the businesses are going, or you just try to spot trends.
I really try to train my people emotionally and martial arts and to be financially successful and what to do with the money once they are financially successful. Because
Okay.
without that, most martial arts instructors are broke. They don't know even the number 8 thing I was going to talk to you today was the purpose of money. Most martial arts instructors have no clue.
Mm. And we'll definitely get into that. What I'm curious about is when you go to open up a school, let's say you have an instructor who's great,
Yeah.
and he's like, hey, I want to open up another school. Can you help me? I want to be a partner with you. How do you figure out if that person is a good fit to be a partner? And then how do you structure that partnership?
Uh, First off, everybody starts as an employee when you open a school because I don't let them own. Because here's the deal: when you're a 50% partner, if you get 50% of the profit, you also have to be able to cover 50% of the losses. Most people aren't able to do that, so I'll open a school with for them as an instructor, and when they're ready, I'll sell them whatever percentage they want to buy, up to 49%.
Mm. So you always have controlling interest.
I have controlling interest exactly because I'm the one that ultimately I already know the average guy doesn't have enough money to cover the losses.
Mm.
So I've got to cover it until the school makes enough to pay the bills.
And then how do you figure out the value or how much they buy in when they're ready?
Well, it depends on the growth of the school, but when they're new, there's no school that I have that doesn't have at least $200,000 in value.
Okay, so that'll be
But I
like your
know my
baseline.
systems. But if you're doing $1 million a year, the school's $1 million school.
Okay, got it. So you'll just do gross revenue for a year, and that'll be kind of your set standard for value. So you want to buy school is, let's say, worth $1 million or does $1 million a year in revenue. Then you'll say, okay, if you want 20%, it'll be 200K. You want 10%,
You
it'll
got it.
be
You
okay.
got it.
Awesome. So keep it really, really simple.
Pretty basic, pretty simple. I don't need a complicated system because I already know they don't have to be an owner to make a lot of money.
Mhm.
And I really would teach them how to do other things, have multiple streams of income. They can be a partner if they want to, though.
Hmm.
Many of
So
my
what?
half my people are partners, half are want to remain employees of the company. They're not working for me. They work for the company, and I have a lot of great guys that work together.
Okay. And then have you ever had someone that became a partner in a school, a new school, and then it didn't work out, or maybe they left early, and then all of a sudden you're left with a school that isn't well staffed? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, just like it does everybody else. Nobody stays forever unless they were. I'm very loyal in my own situation. I expect loyalty out of people. If they want to go open another school somewhere else outside of my territory, I'll help them. But in my own city, I'll fiercely defend my territory and my family of instructors that stay with me. I do have people that try to uh, do all the wrong things and they just lose their position. But it's okay. People come and people go. It's kind of like marriage. If marriage lasted forever, we'd all be with the first girl we ever dated.
Okay. So how do you keep people sticking within their school? So, you have 16 locations. I assume if three people, the head people left tomorrow, it would kind of leave you in a bind, right? So how do
Sure.
you make sure that those people are sticking around? So as an owner, you're not all of a sudden back on the mat teaching all the classes.
That's funny you said that. Less than 4 months ago, I was back on the mat because one of the guys that been with me 25 years did some things that I don't like, and so he had to go, and he was a partner in the school. But it's fine. I mean, I was on the mat for 3 weeks, and one of my other instructors said, "You don't need to teach," so they came in and taught for me. So that's the first time I taught in since 1976 on the mat.
Oh, wow.
But I'm
Okay.
willing to jump in. My average guy has been here 22 to 27 years.
Why do you think you're able to have your staff stay for so long, like your teammates?
I think I have good people. I hire good people. I create good people. I take care of them when they're in trouble. Most of them don't need that. I train them in a lot of areas of life, and they're just good. I mean, you hire the right people based on their love of martial arts. I don't hire people that don't like to train in martial arts. And I want to stay their instructor for as long as I'm alive. So I stay their instructor. I'm very seldom their boss. I'm their instructor, guiding them along the path. That's all. And we share revenue based on how well the school does.
I think that's so important that you stay their instructor and their leader and mentor, not just like, oh, I'm the manager who tells you what to do.
I try not to do that, but I will. They all get the same information, and we have schools that do 100,000 a month and schools that do 25,000 a month, and they all got the same information, the same styles, the same quality of location. It's just a matter of execution.
And do you ever hire from the outside, or is it all from people
Yeah,
who were students previously?
in a perfect world, I would hire only from inside, but I have several people that come to me outside. Some of them 25 years ago, some of them as early as next week. So
Okay.
people do apply all the time, and I try to find a position for them. I won't open a school for them until I really meet them and make sure they like to train. I don't like martial arts instructors that don't train. I wear 3 rings myself all the time, and the first one reminds me that I'm a black belt, and this ring reminds me I have to train every day or I'm not a black belt anymore. My master ring, this is one for ninth degree, reminds me that I got to create leaders and work with them all the time. And my wedding ring reminds me who the boss is. So those I wear those three, and I have to wear, like people say they wear different hats. I wear different rings. Remind me of what I got to do.
So when you train, do you have like another instructor you train with, or you work out like your house? What do you usually do for yourself?
I have a 25,000 square foot uh, instructor center here. I work out on my own, and I have a coach uh, in my mobility training that works for me here. So I work out with my guys. I mean, we work out. I work out an awful lot alone because of my age. I can't get on the mat with these guys. Are all good. My instructors are really, really fantastic instructors first, or maybe martial artists first, but they're really good on the mat with instructors. Master Von Schmeling creates great instructors. We create great instructors, and that's what we train in Warrior. Warrior is about training, teaching, and testing. That's it. We don't worry about tournaments and that other stuff. Tournaments are valuable if you like it, but we're building a big organization without tournaments. They're just for fun. They're not really at the core of our business.
Okay, so let's say you're going to go hire an instructor. How do you go about finding them? Like, what do you actually do?
I mean, people come to me all the time. I'm not advertising for outside people. If first off, if you can't create, if you've been in business 3 years and you can't create anybody, let me tell you the very first uh, when I left Omaha, I was chief instructor at the ATA's headquarters school out there. When I left there, and Grandmaster Reed told me, replace yourself first. And that's what I spent the first 3 years trying to do. And Grandmaster H. Lee said, only worry about instructors, don't worry about students.
Hmm.
So from that point on in 1971, 72, 73, that's what I did. I created instructors, and we're still creating instructors in all of our schools. And Master Von Schmeling is extremely good at that, creating great instructors. And if you don't, most people teach people the martial arts. We teach people how to deliver the martial arts. That's a totally different concept. That's what Warrior has seminars on, becoming the best instructor you can be. Not They will become a great martial artist if they train with us, but we're really worried about having great words, great body language, and great delivery. That's how you keep your students, and that's how you keep your instructors. We train on how to teach. Most people have never been critiqued on their teaching, except by their students, whether they stay or not.
Hmm.
Most people never teach in front of a group and have them go, this is what you did good, this is what you did bad. They don't have that system. We do. And
Yeah,
we're trying
that's
to
pretty
become
cool.
better instructors. Even we have 7th and 8th degree black belts coming here to our instructor training because they want to get better.
Yeah, and I think especially as people become more experienced or higher belt rank, they kind of lose touch with being self-critical in their teaching skills, right? Like, oh, I've been doing this for 10 years or 20 years. Like, I don't need anyone to tell me how to do anything. And one of the things that I talk about in the podcast all the time is what we call game film review. And it's one of my favorite things that we do, where we have cameras that record video and, of course, audio of the
Right.
classes, right? Whether it's private lessons or group classes or intro or enrollments, everything, right? The entire place is covered. So what we'll do is one time per week, I'll sit down on Zoom with an instructor and we'll review a film from the previous week. So we'll pick a class or a lesson. Maybe a lesson didn't enroll.
Right.
And we want to know what happened. Or maybe a lesson did enroll. We want to know why it went so well. And we want to do more of that. Or we watch a class of like 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds, see if it was a good class or a bad class or what we could do to make it better. But we watch it frame by frame and with in the filter of what could I learn from this to do better, but also what is really good in that class that I need to be doing more of. What are the things I need to repeat? And I think that's important too. And whenever you watch film of yourself, kind of like a professional athlete, like if you were a professional quarterback in the NFL, you watch a ton of film. You have
Right.
no idea what's happening on the other side of the mat when you're looking this way.
Right.
Right. So that's often when you'll discover things that you had no idea was happening. Right.
Right.
So we do that. I try to share that with other martial arts school owners because I'm like, if you're not doing that, I promise, if you sit down and do that once a week, give yourself a half an hour to actually critique a class or a lesson. I promise you, 6 months from now, your school will be immeasurably better. You actually watch the film. And as long as you don't give too many critiques, I think sometimes people can like one of the mistakes I made is giving too many critiques at once, and then it just feels
Right.
like you're getting attacked and nothing ever gets better. We do like 3 things that we want to get better of like
Right.
takeaways. Like here's the 3 things to take away we watch, and then we'll look for next week. We'll look for one of them to get better. That's it. And each week we'll just do one.
I think the biggest problem with doing any type of critique for the average instructor is they've never verbalized their expectations, so the people don't know what to do anyway. They're just copying whoever their instructor was.
Hmm.
So if you can't tell them exactly what you expect, there's no way for them to duplicate it. So that's what we do in our warrior training seminars and certifications. We train constantly on how to teach.
That's great. So
Not just technique, how to teach, what to say, how to move, how to position your body, all those things.
okay, great. And what exactly do you have like a training program you take them through that is your warrior training that like, okay, here's the exact curriculum that we're going to go through in order to make you an okay instructor to an amazing instructor?
We we train in several different styles, and each one allows you to go from first degree to third degree black belt. The Warrior brand goes to ninth degree and then even the 10th degree black belt. But we have these other styles, and you have to get certified in them. And every time you go through any certification, it's about how to teach, not what to teach. So when you go through how to teach constantly, year after year, month after month, and when you see it with other people, because you're not only last week, there was 100 people here in the building, they were all teaching in front of you. So you get to see them, and then you teach in front of them and get feedback from the instructor of the group. So we do a lot about teaching and how to teach. Maybe not as much as we should, but my top guys are unbelievable, and the average guy is better than most. But we do know what we're trying to accomplish. We have class planners for every class, every program. So they have a program to follow, and then how they deliver it determines the success or failure of the school.
So what do your best teachers do?
What do they bet?
Yeah, like if you're like teaching them these skills, let's say you're gonna boil it down to like 2 or 3 skills, and if they have these really good teaching skills, you know they're gonna be great. They'll develop the rest. Like if you had to boil it down to a couple, what would you say are the most important that you
I think the first thing is here's a couple of principles. We teach based on standards. We know what a standard just like gymnastics has standards for a forward flip, a back flip, a handstand. We teach for standards, but we test for emotion. So those are the 2 things that instructors got to take into the class. They got to bring emotion. So first they've got to be in state for every class, not just the biggest class, so they got to get themselves in state where they're at the peak performance. So they got to take their energy to the floor, and they got to only correct for standard, not for technical ability. I think the first job is to teach people to love martial arts, not teach people the martial arts. Once they love it, you'll have time to correct all the little foibles that you run into. But we correct for standard and teach for emotion, and we test for emotion. So if you understand what that means, you can tell all the classes I teach look like military classes, very strong, very structured. So a lot of the principles, we have a quadrant, we have structure as one, we have the standards as one, we have the instructor points, 10 points, and we have the student points. So when you look at these 4 quadrants, that's what we teach people. It's a lot of information. It's a 3-day seminar to learn it all. But the structure of the class, what the students do in the class, what the instructors do in the class, and then building rapport with the parents and the students. If you do the 4 quadrants, you'll keep people forever and you'll get better constantly. If you can imagine a piece of paper divided into 4 sections with 10 things to do on each one, you sit down in front of the class, and every time you see them do one of the things, you mark it. And at the end, you have a conversation and go, you were really good here on the instructor points, what you were doing. Down here in rapport building, I've only got 3 clicks where I saw you do one of the things. Like rapport building might be things like use everybody's name 3 times, touch the wrist, elbow, or shoulder, tell a story about yourself that relates to them, bring everybody up front of the, so rapport building is highlighting, is all that, you know what to do for rapport building. But if they don't do it, so they may have a great class with no rapport building, then they lost everybody. Or only rapport building because they like to talk about themselves, but no structure. So I think the deal is when we look at one of my classes, first I look for structure. Then you can add emotion and excitement. But as soon as you, it's structure, emotion, and then knowledge in that order. It's not knowledge first. Most karate instructors, especially young ones, want to give them everything they know so soon that they lose the students. We start with structure. It's organized. It's military. It looks like a marching band. And then we add emotion to get the energy up. But if you get so much energy, you lose the structure, you stop and go back and get structure. The last thing, if they stay long enough, they'll get the knowledge required to do what we want. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's the order I look for, because we know what we're trying to create. We're trying to create people that are emotionally powerful, physically strong, and technically fearless in that order. But emotionally powerful is number 1. That's why emotions is one of the highlights of our classes. We test for that. Okay.
How do you test for emotion? What do you mean by that?
When they got to bring their voice, their energy, their movement. They got to bring the structure, the way they stand, the way they look, the way they talk, the way they make eye contact, the way we are now. They got to bring all that to class. And when you test for emotion, that's all I'm looking for. They might do everything wrong, but they're the strongest person in the class emotionally. They're trying the hardest. That to me means more than anything else. Because when you don't try, there's no way to improve. So we're not testing on, oh, your wrist was wrong. We teach for that, but we don't test for that, because all testing graduations in front of their family and their friends. We want them to show out whatever they have to the best of their ability. They don't have to be technically perfect today. They have to love martial arts today. Technically perfect. There's a certain length of time it takes everybody based on their individual body, the capability to be really good. I constantly correct for the standards, but we test for emotion. You've seen people that go to a tournament and they do their form, or they do the sparring and it looks like they're on fire. Those people are emotionally charged. When you can recognize that, and that's what I look for in testing.
So how do you teach someone to love the martial arts? Like you mentioned before, like most important to me is they love the martial arts. So is that something they come in with? Like you want to know that they're...
No, if they came in with that, they wouldn't need me. Like if you go to an Anthony Robbins seminar, how does he get you in state? If you ever go to one. They do a lot of clapping, a lot of tightening up their body. What if I can get people to do set point and feel the power of set point? If I can get them to feel what martial arts feels like, and it takes 1 class. The first class, people should know what it feels like to be a martial artist. That's standing strong. And our student oath is, I will stand up, I will stand out, I will stand proud. If I can accomplish that with what they say and how they feel, they'll love martial arts. And once you love it, it's hard to quit. And even if you do, you'll be forced to come back.
So do you ever get people that become instructors that have 0 martial arts background and they're like, hey, I just saw what you're doing. This looks cool. I was thinking about getting involved in martial arts. How do I work in the industry? And they can become an instructor pretty quickly. Like, have you done from scratch sort of thing?
3 seminars ago, we had a person that came from the construction field, married one of our instructors, never took a class, came to certification, wanted to teach after that. Here's the average student in the martial arts is between 6 and 12 years old. He's a boy or a girl, and his rank is under green belt. How high a rank do you have to be to teach that person? I'd rather have a cheerleader or a gymnast or a great greeter at a restaurant teach the martial arts by my class planner than a 6th degree black belt.
So you don't necessarily care if the person's a black belt who's a teacher or not.
Excuse me?
You don't care if the person's a black belt who's a teacher.
Here's my experience. The first goal that was ever set for me in martial arts was set by the instructor on the first class I ever took. Master Kim in Omaha, Nebraska, he was the instructor at this school. Grandmaster Lee was teaching at the downtown school. I took the first class, and he said to me in his broken Korean, he said, "You will be one of my instructors one day." So now I was very gullible. I went home and took a 4-month leave of absence from my job. I was already 21 years old. I didn't know he meant someday. But because he placed that in my mind, 6 months later, I took his job and I was the chief instructor in that school
Mm.
with no previous experience. So I wonder if we told every white belt, you're going to be an instructor one day, how much staff we could build. I think the problem, we think you got to be a first degree, second degree, third degree to teach a 6-year-old to low block and punch or to jab, cross, hook. I mean, you just don't need that kind of experience. Whatever they need to teach, they need to learn for this week or this month, and they need to have physical ability and energy, and they need to love kids. They don't need to be a world champion. They don't need to be Bill Wallace to teach martial arts. They don't need to be Joe Louis to be able to teach a punch. They don't need the skills that you have or I have. They need to have energy and like to help people. That's what I'd like. In a perfect world, I wouldn't hire high ranks. But high ranks come to me all the time. The person that recently called wants to go to work is a 7th degree black belt in a school, making $85,000 and doesn't like it. So he should be here in 2 weeks. But in a perfect world, I'm looking for a 21-year-old man or female cheerleader or gymnast that there's just no future for him anywhere else except here. I can give him a great career as a martial arts instructor.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think most martial arts school owners who are in their head about it, they think, oh, it has to be a black belt. Oh, it has to be someone for training for 20 years. But if you have the right systems and you're able to set the right vision, and as long as they have a good personality and can fall in love with it, like we've had people come and join with us that have zero experience that, like you said, construction, or we've had people who are former physicians or work as therapists or teachers. Like usually teachers are amazing, right? They just love kids, but they don't love the bureaucracy of being in a school, and they can never make, teachers are so underpaid that when they can join martial arts, they still get to teach. They don't have to be a teacher all day at a school and deal with the bureaucracy,
Right.
And they can make that the income earning potential is way higher.
Right? I think the less experience you have, the better off to adapt to a new system.
Yeah,
in a perfect world.
Yeah, so you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? If you have someone who's like trained somewhere for 30 years, they come to you and it's hard to retrain them, right? Or they just do whatever their instructor did. That's like their default when things are.
Most people do that because but most instructors don't know what they really want them to do.
Yeah.
Because they teach this for them, teach them sparring, teach this self-defense technique, but they don't know the full structure, what a class looks like, what it feels like to the student, because they haven't taken a class themselves. I don't let people come to Warrior and watch our training. If you come to Warrior and certify, you train for 3 days straight, 8 to 12 hours a day without breaks. And at the end of that, you know how to be a martial arts instructor, and you're good at it, whether you were a white belt or a 9th degree black belt when you started. We have a lot of 7th, 8th, and 9th degrees come here to go through our certification.
So you do a 3-day intensive, like all day, almost like a Tony Robbins seminar, where it's like all
based on martial arts, all based on martial arts and how to teach it, not necessarily what techniques to do. You will learn the style. If it's Krav, you'll learn our Krav curriculum. If it's our Fight Club, you'll learn. If it's Kali, you'll learn that. Whatever style you decide to certify in, you'll learn that. And our real Warrior system is a blend of all those. But you can master the individual pieces if you want to. You don't have to. But if you want to test, you have to.
So is a Warrior system something that you develop personally based on your experience in the martial arts that you like, or?
Exactly. It developed over what I started off years ago in Aikido. I think I was 17 years old in 1966. When I switched to Taekwondo, I realized Aikido, you didn't get to punch and kick people. I liked Taekwondo better. But when I became a kickboxer, I found out it doesn't work exactly like I thought. So I started to do boxing with Joe Corley in Atlanta. So all the things I like, including the ground from Hicks and Gracie, I incorporate in my style. Whatever, because I branched out, so why not just put it in one system?
Okay, very cool. And I know that one of the things martial arts school owners go through is they're always pushing where they want their school to be in terms of, let's say, gross revenue. And obviously gross revenue is more of like an ego stat, right? Like what really matters is how much you're actually taking home. So, what do you look for in your school of profitability? Like, what percentage do you want? What's your profit margin that you look for in school?
First off, you got to know what the gross you're looking for. In a perfect world, my schools would have 300 people paying 300 a month. In a perfect world, it'd be 300 and 300. There are very few perfect worlds, but you got to start with the end in mind, and you got to recruit for that, and then try to retain for that number. You've got to be teaching a strong enough martial art that you can charge at least 300 a month, something like that. So when you know that, and what my deal is, I'm trying to pay my chief instructors who work and do what we say more than 100,000 a month. I'm not worried about how much I take home. Haven't worried about that since 1976. I'm worried about how can I get every chief instructor over 100,000. In November
Yeah,
of
hundred
last
thousand
year,
a year. 100,000 a year, right?
what'd you say?
A
100,000 a
hundred
month.
thousand.
I meant 100,000 a year
Okay,
in
okay, okay. Yeah.
right. But in November of last year, my accountant told me, "Do you realize you've paid over 100 million in payroll?" And that makes me happy because what I really want to do is make sure instructors are getting paid like a professional martial artist. Now, they don't have a salary of that. That's based on their performance and their production. It's very possible in almost every school in the world to not have to buy the school, don't take the risk, don't sign the leases, and make 100,000.
Hmm. So, do you offer any other employee benefits?
No, I pay them so much money they can buy whatever they want.
Okay, so you don't do like health insurance or
I don't
retirement.
need all that stuff. All that crap's an attempt to hold somebody that wants to leave, so they can't leave because they got health insurance with you.
Mm,
I think you pay them enough to buy their investments, to buy their 401k. They can do whatever. And then I train them how to buy their insurance, how to invest their money, how to have multiple streams, how to buy real estate,
mm,
you know. So I trained them how to be financially successful. I'm not doing anything to trick people into staying.
mm. So,
Most
in your
people, they offer that because they say, well, no other school offers health insurance, but we do, so stay.
sure, yeah. So, your perfect school in terms of what you want in a perfect situation would be 300 students paying $300 a month, which is around $90,000 a month in revenue, which is
$1 million a year. Yeah.
yeah, a little over a million.
83 is $1 million a year, right?
Yeah. So, what what's the profit margin you look for? Do you want 30%, 40%? Like, what do you typically?
I'm not concerned with my profit. If I make 20%, I only pay myself 2,000 per school. And then whatever profit there is after I pay everything, because I'm using money to rescue the next school. Because when you got 16 schools, they're not all profitable. Sometimes profit is used to hold up schools where you just changed an instructor, or to hold up schools that are losing money, or to remodel, because you got to remodel these schools every 3 to 5 years. You've got to put money back into them. So it looks like profit. I'd like to have 30% in a great world because I pay the instructor, but that doesn't go to me. That goes to the company. I don't pay myself that much. I don't need that much because I've made money forever and I know how to use money. So I
Okay.
mean, 30%, but that 30. If you don't put money back into your school every couple of years, maybe every year, you won't have a school. You'll eventually be in an old beat up club that nobody wants to go to.
So you have to constantly reinvest in the business to
You
update the
got
core.
that money's not that profit is not necessarily for the owner. Where most owners think every dollar's for them, it's for the business.
Mm,
If you've only got one school and you're not going to expand, and then that's great. You take it all if you want to. But even then, you need to have 3 months of expenses in an emergency fund.
right.
You don't get to keep it and spend it and treat it like salary. I wouldn't pay myself any more as a chief instructor than what I would pay somebody else to do the job, whatever percentage that is. And I told you my payroll system.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
most people think I'm the owner. I get all the money. My guys that run successful schools make much more out of those schools than I do.
Wow. Okay. That's wow. It's very generous, and I think
Oh, it's just the way it's the way life is. I'm not doing the work. I take the risk, and I'll be there for the losses. I'll be there for the profits. But they have to make more. I don't have one school where I make more than the instructor. Not one
wow. Okay.
out of that school. Now, because I've risked all my money in 16 schools, I might make more than the instructor. But in your school, if you make 100,000, I promise you, I made less.
And they're doing all the operations, right?
They're doing all the operations. I'm guiding as much as I can. I'm making decisions, financial decisions, or my team is. I don't at 77. I don't have to do much. I really haven't worked since 1976. So I mean, that's when I retired.
So how often do you do all hands on deck meetings with all 16 schools? Do you do it that way? Do you do them all one by one? How do you actually?
Monday and Wednesday since so when did I start? 1974, maybe 1975. I started Monday and Wednesday.
Okay.
Every Monday and Wednesday from then till the rest of my life. Because I'm not teaching them something new. I'm reminding them of what they're supposed to do and what they're not doing. I'm just a reminder in chief. That's it.
And do you do that all in person or on Zoom?
Zoom and in person.
Okay, cool. And then each time you have a meeting, is it generally martial arts based or business based or a mix?
It's a mix of everything I see I need that day. Because
Okay.
most of it is me communicating with my guys, making my girls, making sure that they're on track in their life, in their school, and in their martial arts.
And one of the ways that you make sure they're on track is these 9 principles that you talked about. We talked about in the beginning before we started that you need in order to, or that you train your staff with. So that way they're successful, independently of you also, right? They create a good life. So I would love to go through that and tell me what you teach your staff when you have these staff trainings.
Okay, first, I think that I'll start with how it happened to me. First, when I told you already, Master Kim said you'll be an instructor one day. So I think you have to take that and understand that every single person you enroll, that's what is going to be an instructor one day if you tell them. And if you don't, they won't be. Like your own children, if you want them to go to college, as soon as possible, you start telling them that. As soon as possible, they've decided if you went to Florida, University of Florida, you're going to tell your kids you're going there. If you went to Nebraska, so that stated goal from the leader to them has to be there. So that's the first thing. Number two is I teach them all. You're going to teach every class as long as you work with me, unless you build staff. So, they have to know white belts aren't the number one job. They're the number two job. Number one job is to build staff, and that's got to be important. Um, I want them to build instructors, not students. Next, here's what I think, and I teach them all the time. You create your daily habits, and then your habits that you created determine your success or failure. And when you look at success or failure, then you adjust what you're doing every day, because everybody has habits. Some help, some hurt. But it's not about what you know, it's about what you do on a daily basis. So, I constantly look at their habit list. What 3 habits are you doing every single day that are helping you? What's hurting you? And we constantly go over that. So, if I can get them to understand that they're creating their success through their habits, not what they want, not what they know, but just simple through their habits on a daily basis, that creates your success. It also creates your failure in marriage, in life, and in your business. Whether it's this business or not, I teach the same thing to people in other businesses, that you create habits that create your success or failure. But you get to create them. That's the fun part. You get to create them. I'll guide them along the way, and I'll tell them what I know works. But they get to, because there's a lot of stuff that works. You pick the ones that you like, and if you're getting the results, I don't micromanage my people. I give them enough variance that they can make it successful. That's number 4, create your habits. Number 5, I try to get them to live their life by principles. I have 5 principles I use in my life every day on every single decision I make, including coming on this podcast with you. 5 principles that I use. And they don't have to use mine, but they have to have some principle they make decisions by. Like someone says, you want to go on a podcast, you want to go to a bar, you want to go to Mexico, or you want to do this. You have to have, okay, here's my filter. Like when you go to search for a property or search for a car, it'll ask you what your filters are. I think you need life filters that help you make decisions. And I use 5 all the time, and I've used them forever, and they've helped me. So you got to have at least 5, sometimes 1 or 2, but I use 5 principles. They're simple.
Yeah, tell me.
Huh? Oh, tell you them? Okay.
Yeah, I want to
Number
know.
1, no matter what, a long time ago, I decided to be happy. No matter what happens in my life, because I can't control what happens, but I can control how I react to it, no matter what. And even when I'm injured, hurt, or sick, you're going to find me waking up in the morning going, I feel fantastic, very loud, getting in state. If I feel slightly depressed, you'll see me walking faster until I don't. You'll see me smiling. You'll see me clapping my hands. I've got to be in control of that. If you allow yourself to be sad, you're just allowing yourself to be depressed, and it's on you. It's not me. It's not the surroundings, not the weather. It's not Joe Biden, although he helps. It's not that. It's not those things. It's simply you got to decide if that's one of your principles. Some people love their misery and want to share it. I don't. I want to be happy. Anything that doesn't allow me to be happy, I won't do it. 0 time. No matter how much money's involved, and I've been offered a lot of ways to make money. If that doesn't make me happy, I don't do it. Number 2, I'm going to be free. I desire freedom more than money. So no matter what, I need to have financial freedom, time freedom, and my health has got to keep me happy, help me healthy enough that I have freedom of movement. Those things, without freedom, my particular personality doesn't work. Number 3 principle for me is be young. I got to stay young, and I spend a lot of money. I'm 77, but I still feel pretty good. I don't know how other 77 how they feel. I just know how I feel. So I'm going to be young. Here's the deal: you're not going to be this young again, ever. You will never be this young again. That's the whole secret. You don't understand that, so go ahead and use it accordingly. Number 4 principle, and the reason I'm here today, because my number 4 is help someone every day without regard to remuneration, without trying to get paid. Like, you're not going to pay me to be here, and I don't care. I don't need to be paid for that. I need to help somebody that watches this broadcast, or you, every single day, and without thought of remuneration or history. The fact that they may have done something to me in the past, that's in the past. If someone needs my help, if possible, I help, as long as it makes me happy. Number 5, I'm willing to fall in love with myself, with my work, with the people I work with. I'm willing to fall in love. When your heart gets broke because they leave, like you said, and they will, your heart will get broke, go back to number 1 and be happy. I filter everything through that automatically. And at first, it was a struggle for me I would do something that said, well, this doesn't give me freedom. I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. I don't have any freedom. I'm on this guy's schedule. Once I figured that out, oh, no. Freedom is time, money, and ability to move my body. So you've got to have those things. You don't need my 5, but you need some filtering system that you make decisions by. Otherwise, everybody else makes decisions for you. That's what I found out. I don't want that. I want to make them based on these principles. The next line I teach my people is goal setting and all the things that go along with it. It's not like setting smart goals. Anybody can do that. Okay, and that's a very cliche thing, so somebody could sell a book. Okay, when I have a goal and I've written it down and I have the time frame, how do I accelerate it? And there's some principles I teach all my people. Number 1 is affirmations. I use affirmations as if it's already happened every single morning and every single training I do. Number 2 is guided meditation. Guided meditation, not sitting staring at a candle going, not that. Guided meditation where I know how to, and it's less than 2 or 3 minutes every night and every morning. Number 3, I use vision boards and visualization. I use vision, and then I do dream writing. I don't know if you know what dream writing is. It's a concept that I use. Any single thing I dream, if I start having a thought process, I allow myself to keep dreaming about it. And what would it look like if I did that? And I'll write. I'll dream and write. It's not dreaming at night. It's daydreaming about what it would be like to spend $1 million next year. What would it be like to go ahead and have a house on the ocean, which I just bought a new one on the ocean. What would it be like? And write it. Dream writing. Most people are afraid to contemplate because they'll say, you're just daydreaming. Not really. It's not really daydreaming because I'm going to plan it and do it. Next one, I'm going to use sound vibrations to activate my chakras. I'm pretty much understanding that you have energy sources in your body that are unused and untapped. Everybody does, because the input they give their self-talk, and the music they listen to and the vibration they're in because of the people they're around destroys their ability to have personal power. So I train my people. If you have a goal, this is how you achieve it, other than writing it down, setting a goal, and taking action. You got to do those basic things. But there's some things that'll help you, and those are the things that help. So next one is spend money on your health, not on things. So I spend a lot of money on peptides, stem cells, going to Mexico to get health checkups. I spend a lot of money with a longevity doctor. I have a plan to live to 120, healthy and wealthy. Not, I hope I make it to 70. A lot of my friends aren't here today, and they were younger than me when they passed. So my goal is to live to 120. I'm trying to set up a seminar for that day. So I need to have a goal, and I got to spend money on health, not things, not a new car, not a new Rolex. Although I have one, I have new cars too, but most of my money is going to spend on my health and those 5 principal things. So the other thing is I have at this age, once you pass 40, you need much more protein than you think and much less vegetables than they tell you. I take all the vitamins from my doctor also. I mean, you got to make a decision. Most people just live as long as they do. They never contemplated. They never set a goal for life. They just say, well, I'm surprised I got here. You're young, but if you set a goal to live to 100, first off, everybody your age should make it to 120 if they try. Because there's so much new stuff coming out through, like I said, peptides and stem cells. There's so much new stuff. If you start now, you make sure you have enough money if you live that long. So you gotta have that part.
So
Next,
tell me about peptides real quick, because I've heard Huberman talk about it in his podcast, or briefly. I don't really know what it is. Tell me what that's about.
they're small chain amino acids that are easily moved through your system. Everybody has them. I use 157 every single day. 157 is a healing agent. If you ever see a football player get hurt on a football field and they go in the back and they come right back out, they had an injection of 157. Small chain amino acids are liquid. I use them every single day. They heal your gut and they heal your body. There's a lot of other ones. Huh?
For you, it's an injection, or you take like a pill?
I started with injections, and then I found out I could do it subdermally with patches. So
Okay.
it's much faster with injections, but I use some other injections. I use to make sure I don't get skin cancer. I use 141, so I peptide 141. So there's a lot of peptides. Anything wrong in your body you can address with peptides rather than medicine. There's very few side effects and no side effects because it's all natural, and it's just a small chain amino acid that your body uses to do certain things. So, and stem cells, you have to have stem cell replacement after 40 because where our body replicates quite often, but with old stem cells, use stem cells. So people that don't donate blood, they have old blood. People that have old skin, unless they have, and as you replicate at an older age, your stem cells are older and they don't reproduce perfectly. It's like having an old car that you keep washing. Doesn't work. Sometimes you got to replace some body parts, and you do it with stem cells. It'll rebuild brand new tissue. You're going to see in the soon all body parts will be rebuilt with stem cell replacement parts.
Is this information you get from your longevity doctor?
I've been studying stem cells and peptides for 20 years. My longevity doctor does do. You also have to do hormone replacement. He helps me with that. Men and women need that after 40. My stem cells I get from Neil Reardon in Mexico. He healed me long ago. I mean, there's some geniuses out there. And if you look at Tony Robbins has a lot of investments in peptides and stem cells. The information is there. People just don't seek it out. But if you'll start spending money on your health instead of things, you're gonna have great success. I know I have as much energy as any 70-year-old I know, maybe more. And at 120, I hope to be doing a podcast with you one day on how to live to be 120.
Wait, I have another question about the thing you said about vegetables. Well,
Right.
they say that. So after 40, you should eat as many vegetables. I mean, more protein. I think everyone needs to eat more protein, right? Like in general, you should have about, they say, a gram per body weight in general, right? A half to a gram of protein per body weight.
A gram is probably not enough. Also on that, you need to be doing fasting at some time. Your body has to be hungry sometime. Your body has to be starved sometime. The vegetables we have here in this country, there's nothing really in them anymore. And there's pesticides, there's all kind of toxins in them. And that's not, your body can handle the protein. I eat zero vegetables. And I'm the healthiest person I know. Zero vegetables. Once in a while, I'll eat fruit, only berries.
Why
I eat
berries?
no vegetables. Berries, they give you a little bit of taste. They give you some carbs. I don't eat carbs at my age.
So you're basically doing a carnivore diet.
For years, when I fought for 19 professional fights for the PKA, I never ate vegetables. I never ate carbs. And I don't eat bread. I never eat wheat or any of that stuff.
So what about rice?
You don't need rice.
So no
I
rice.
I don't eat grain. I don't use nut oil or seed oil.
So you're basically, what are you eating most of the day? You're just eating different meats that are just
Meat,
like,
eggs, cheese, some natural dairy products. If I eat wheat now, I've gone so long without the poison of wheat, makes me sick immediately.
wow.
Wheat is a poison. No matter what, you need to get wheat out of your diet. That's pasta. That's all wheat. Now, if you can go to Europe and eat wheat, doesn't affect me. You need to get wheat out of your diet.
So is that where you go to get your pasta fix? If you're like, I want some rigatoni, you're gonna.
I don't have that anymore. If I do, once in a while, I go to a place here that has cauliflower pizza crust. Other than that, then I'm eating a vegetable, which I don't like. But I like the taste of pepperoni and cheese and that kind of stuff. But I don't have that anymore. I don't really have that. If I'm with someone that has to have pizza, I'll get a cauliflower pizza. That's it. I don't have those urges anymore. I mean, but if you just cut out wheat, you'll get a long way towards no joint aches. You'll get a long way toward longevity. You'll heal a lot of your gut issues.
So how much do you think you spend either a month or a year on just like body wellness?
Let me take a guess because I take a lot of peptides. All of them, I take 4 different peptides. They're all that's $400. My doctor cost me $550 a month. That checks my blood every 3 months. He adjusts my hormones and my vitamins and minerals. I probably take $400, $500 worth of vitamins every month. Hormone injections, whatever he thinks I need. It's only a couple hundred, so probably $2,000.
$2,000 a month.
But I'm willing to spend 10 for health.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then
What's
that's
more important, right?
That's all you really have. I can buy a new car for 100,000, or I can spend 100,000 on my health this year, and I'll get a lot further down the road.
Yeah. I always say there's two things I never care about spending money on is anything like health or education. Those are the two things. Anything else, it's nice. You know, it's nice to have a nicer car, nicer watch, and nicer apartment or house. Yeah, cool. But those are the two things. I would say also experience. Is the other one
Right?
that's like, no one can ever take an experience away from you. You have that forever. But especially when I talk to someone who like wants advice about something, and I'll be like, "Oh, get this book," and they'll be like, "Oh, do you have a copy?" I'm like, "No, go buy the freaking book."
Right.
Like, because if you don't buy it, I hand it to you. I guarantee you're not going to read it. Right?
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
sit on some shelf somewhere. Go buy the book. It costs like $12. Like someone spent months, if not years, putting all their knowledge in that book. You can spend a couple hours reading it and $15 to buy it. Right?
Sure, sure, sure. Yes, sir. I mean, but I think we have to educate ourselves through observation and thought process because I really don't want to take somebody else's ideas and make my life. I want to observe everything that I see, analyze the results, and then use my thought process to write what I want. I'd rather read my own book than somebody else's, but I got to write it because my life becomes my book.
Right.
My life becomes my book. So this podcast, when I finish, I'll write some stuff down about it. What did I learn by talking to you? What did you allow me to learn? What did I learn from you? But I think everybody can teach somebody else. And I know everybody says readers or leaders are readers. I think thinkers are leaders. So you got to be willing to open your mind and think. The mind is a fantastic thing, or let AI do all the thinking for you, one or the other. So
Mm.
next thing is people don't know the purpose of money, so they never have any.
Mm.
They don't have any. I have all my people. I don't know how much time you have left, but I have all my people have 5 bank accounts, and each one has a different purpose. And the money in that account can only be used for that purpose. If you'll live with that kind of discipline, you'll never go broke, and you'll be wealthy very soon.
Mm.
So they all have their 5 accounts, and they're all labeled, and that's one of the things I insist on. I don't know if you've ever been through my seminar on the purpose of money, but it's if you do it, it's powerful for you.
How do you label your five business accounts?
And they're all 5 separate accounts. Okay, number one is my SO, my standard obligations. Everything I have to pay on a monthly basis, not optional stuff, but that's in my SO. So no matter what, when I get money, I put that amount in. If it's 5,000, I put 5,000 in that account. If it's 10, I put 10. I don't put more than that in, or my SO will grow, because money seems to get spent if you don't know the purpose of it. So in my SO account, my number one checking account, it's not a savings account. It's an interest-bearing checking account. I put the amount I need for that month.
Okay.
And next month I do the same thing.
That's like the standard of living. Like, okay,
That's not standard of living. That's SO. Only the standard obligation, stuff that you're obligated to pay. Because the standard of living, sometimes you're not obligated. You just choose to every month.
Sure. So where does mortgage go? Does mortgage go in that or not?
If you got a mortgage, it goes in there because you have to pay, unless it's an investment.
Right.
If it's an investment, it goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
So let me go through. Number one is standard obligations. Only what you're contractually or morally obligated to pay every single month. Might be child support, whatever it is. You got to satisfy that first. Number two is whatever my SO is, I need 3 times that in an emergency fund. 3 times my SO. If you got children, you need 6 times your SO in an emergency fund. If you've got a house, use your equity in the house as your emergency fund, so you don't have to put money there. If you don't have any equity anywhere or any credit anywhere, you've got to actually put dollars in the emergency fund. And you only take them out in the case of an emergency, not for a new car, a vacation, or a date. So that's the first 2. The number 3 one is my lifestyle account. I call it my FU account. Fund you, fund me. And I have a per diem right now of $1,000 a day. So that account, at the beginning of every month, I have $30,000 in there. And I spend whatever I want without remorse, without second guessing myself. Now, when I first started this account, it was only $100. 1976, I started that account. $100. That's a lot. That was $3,000 I could spend without regretting it. And I would, and if I'm married, my wife has the same account, 3,000 for herself. My wife also has now an account with 30,000 in. She never spends a penny. But if she did, whatever she spends, I would bring it up to 30. I would never put more than that in there because I've decided what my per diem amount is. I want to be able to spend without thinking about it, without it affecting my life. Mine is $1,000 a day, 30,000. I spend half of that every month, sometimes more. And that's my lifestyle above my SO. And sometimes I'm going to Miami this weekend. It wasn't a goal. It was a pop-up idea. I want new golf clubs. They're $2,500. They're $5,000. If I got the money in the SO in my life account, it comes out of there. It doesn't come out of a goal account unless it was a goal. So the first three, I make sure I have enough money for those. The next two, anything left over, I split 50-50 between the next two accounts. One is the old me account. What's going to happen when I'm old? Now, I'm already old, so I don't put money in that account anymore.
Okay.
In that account, I need to produce revenue without me working that's 3 times what I need for my first 3 accounts. So if my SO account is 5,000, my standard obligation is met with my equity, and let's say it's $5,000 in my lifestyle account, my money I want to spend throughout the month without remorse. Whatever's left gets spent 50% to my old me account, and that's investments. Right now I have real estate. I have Airbnb properties at the beach. I have schools that are in that account, and I have a stock portfolio in there that produces about $35,000 a month in revenue. That's just in dividends. So that far outweighs my first 3 accounts. So I don't put money in there anymore. I already reached the threshold. Everything else goes into my goal account. That's my last account. And an equal amount goes in. I don't do goals first or old me first. I've got to live still. I'm not waiting until I'm old to live. So since 1976, I had a per diem account, what I want to be able to spend every day throughout the month or total in the month, and I spend it without remorse. I don't save first, pay yourself first. I do. I pay my first 3 accounts first. If I've made enough money to have leftover, I pay old me. I'm hoping I get there one day at 120, and I pay my goal account. And I've always got 4 goals I'm working on at a time. And if I've got enough money to do one of them, I get rid of it. I check it off, and I put another one there. So there's 4 goals. They should be travel, properties, and once I buy a property, it goes from my goal account into my investment account, and then I move it. But I don't use my investment money to go out and buy a property. That's got to become a goal. That's the 5 accounts, and that's a lot of information. That's a 3-hour seminar done in 5 minutes.
That would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you saw it and we talked it through, if you'll start using your 5 accounts and know all money has to have a purpose, the fun thing is you get to decide the purpose, but you don't deviate from the purpose. Because this is a planned way to spend money, not, do you have any money? Good, let's spend it.
Right.
That's why martial arts instructors don't get wealthy. They think every dollar can go anywhere it wants, anywhere they want it to. And so they don't really make money. I'm sorry. The martial art, I started teaching this because all my friends, I wanted to go skiing in Colorado and nobody could afford to go. That's why I started teaching business seminars 100 years ago, because none of my friends could afford to do the things I wanted to go. And they're all martial artists. That's the only reason I started teaching this stuff to my friends. So,
all right, back to the principles. What number are we up to?
we're about to get back to the last one. So,
all right, let's do it.
the last one is first off, you got to live in state. In other words, you got to be able to control how you feel all the time. Most people think, no, that's just how I feel, or that's the way I am, or what about the fact that it rained, but they're rioting on the college campus, but Biden's president or Trump's president. That shit doesn't matter to me. I can't control it. So I've got to control the state I'm in all the time, my emotional state, my mental state. I live every day. And the way I do it is not only do I have my principles, big questions like I just set my new board of directors. And you get to choose your board of directors. And I found a long time ago, they don't actually, if you know the people. So my board of directors this last year was H.U. Lee, my first instructor, Richard Reed, the guy that financed the ATA and started it, Donald Trump is on my board of directors. Uh, Musk is on my board of directors. And Branson's on my board of directors. So my question was, going forward 2024, what direction should I take? And I asked myself, what would they say? And the message came in very, very clear to me this year. And I just had this in January. My instructor said, protect your best people, hold them because they're gold. And that resonated with me because I had a few people in me 25 years that I need to do something about this. I need to make sure hold your best people. They're the only gold you have. That's what my instructor's in. He's been dead for 20 years. Richard Reed said, never lose money on anything you do. Never lose your principal and investment. And I'd been with him a lot. We'd done financial planning all the time. When I asked a question about this year, because I'm thinking about expansion, and Master Von Schmeling and I are doing, and he said, never lose money. That's what he told me this year, and he's been dead for 5 years. Donald Trump, who I admire in many ways, said, build the warrior brand. And I hadn't been worried about that before. He said, build your brand and put that name on everything you do. I looked at the next guy, was Elon Musk. He said, use technology from here on out. Don't do anything that's old fashioned. Use technology. So I started using AI in all my communication with my leads, with my sales, with my upgrades. And I'm not there yet, but I understand what he said. And the last guy said, diversify and put your name on everything. And that was who? Branson. He said, diversify and put your name on everything. So Trump's mainly hotels and golf courses. Branson's on everything.
Right.
And I never thought about diversifying before, but now I know exactly what he meant. Put my name on the rental properties, put my name on your merchandise, put your name on the internet. I mean, so those 5 things, just by picking a board of directors of people you admire, if you ask them the big questions, and if you know anything about them, like you said, read books. If you read autobiography, you can have Abraham Lincoln as a board of director. When you ask a question, you probably know what he says. I think we're all connected. It was very clear for me this year what I got to do when I picked this board. So it's a abstract way of you getting information based on what you know about other people, not your own thoughts. Because I would have never thought any of that except maybe Master Reed, don't lose money no matter what. The rest of that wouldn't have come in my mind.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, if you don't pick your board of directors, it's just going to be the people closest to you.
It's going to be the people around you.
Things your mom used to tell you, right? Or it's going to be your broke best friend, right? Or it's going to be other people in your life who are just deciding where the company goes, your company goes. And those aren't the people that maybe are the ones you want advice from in those certain areas, right?
We do a lot of training, Master Von Schmeling, and I have people that want to come train with us. They're welcome to. We don't have an organization, or we're not building tournaments. We just have people that love martial arts that want to train and be better. That's what we do. We have a world conference in July. We have 3 times a year at Warrior Headquarters, immersion into how to teach Krav, kickboxing, traditional, Kali with Master Apollo Ladra. He's our name. We got great people, and we have great people go through our master. We have a master program that changes lives for people that become master instructors. So right. That's about me. You know a lot about me now.
Yeah, this is great.
Everything we said.
Here's what I want to know is if you were a excited entrepreneur involved in martial arts, love martial arts, you want to start a martial arts organization again, how would you guide me or anyone in my position or anyone in martial arts who's an entrepreneur to grow their schools, to avoid mistakes that maybe you made?
I think that you have to decide what entity you're going to grow in. So I built a large organization with my instructor and with a bunch of great people called the American Taekwondo Association. We got it up to 1,242 schools based on licensing. Licensing, you have no control. So if you're a control freak, you shouldn't do that. But you can do a licensing with a small fee and provide as much information as possible. And my new organization, Warrior, has a license aspect to it, but I'm not working it that hard, although based on my board's information this year, I'll probably start offering the license. Right now, we just do trainings. But a license is the easiest one, the less regulated, but the least control and the least amount of income.
Yep.
It's a way to communicate with thousands of people. Number 2 is franchising. You get a lot of control, but a lot of control by the government also. And then number 3 is ownership. And the last one is consulting. Each one you get different levels of control. So it depends on your personality. If you're a control freak, you got to do ownership or franchise. If you think people should be able to guide their own way, then maybe you need consulting or a license where you can't tell them what to do. But in my own schools where I have ownership, I treat it more like a license. I guide my guys. I don't micromanage their time. I micromanage the style as much as possible. I don't micromanage every detail.
Mhm.
But I mean, so what do you think you are? Because you act like you wanted to grow an organization. Uh, what's your personality type? Are you more let people be free? Based on what you said earlier, I would say no. I would say you have some issues with control. You like them to do what you require.
Yeah, I like to do what they require. I mean, Action Karate as a whole, which is owned by my brother, not me personally,
Mm-hmm.
is franchise, right? It was a license at some point. We switched over to franchise, so way more control,
Way
right?
more control, and you should make more income, but the growth is so much slower.
Um, I'm not sure if that's the case for us because everyone was a license before and they just transferred over to a franchise. It wasn't like they were
But
just
now you
all of a
don't have
sudden.
that license. You don't have that license tool to feed your franchise.
Yeah, that's true. There's still whatever for our. You'd have to talk to him more about this, but for our martial arts schools, we still have plenty of people that are kind of like you that work at one of the schools that want to open up a location, and it's like now we have a guidebook we can give them. We have all the recipes. Here you
That's
go.
similar to what I do, except I do ownership with them instead of that. It just gives me
Yeah, and
that
we
way.
do
I don't
that
mind
too.
putting my money under a franchise. It's kind of like they're obligated to pay. They're obligated to pay their own bills and all this stuff, and so
Yep, yep, they're obligated to do all that stuff
you
themselves.
can't help them as much. But that relieves you of the responsibility. A lot of people choose the franchise model. Not many are successful in the martial arts industry, but a few have been.
Yeah, yeah, definitely right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. This has been awesome. I
Any of
feel
that
like,
help at all? If I didn't help, I don't get rid of number 4 for me. Help somebody every day.
yeah, it didn't help that much. I'll probably delete the episode when we hang up. Uh, no, it's wonderful, and I feel like I have to go back and take notes on this so I can really make sure people don't miss things. Because there's a lot of things you said that are really, really fast because you speak quickly and have a lot of energy. And
I've
like you
got full of
said,
energy,
you
but
got that peptide energy oozing out of you. So I want to make sure people get the most out of this. And if someone wants to contact you, they wanted to ask you a question, how would they find you? How would they contact you?
I think the best way is to go through my headquarters office, 904 724 2100. I got that number in 1971. I still have it. So
Well,
that goes to my office. Leave a message. Tell me what you want. I'll get back to you personally.
awesome. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Matthew Brenner. If you want to learn how to grow your martial arts schools through organic strategies that don't rely on Facebook ads or Google ads, and you want to be able to do it year after year, reach out to me through email, matthew@wdojo.com, or you can find me on Instagram at blackbeltbrenner1. Master Clark, thank you so much. You're awesome. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hope you got something.